Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's Noel, just going solo on this one to give a reaction to what we've just seen from Hollywood, Florida, as Blair Cobbs has pretty widely outpointed the former multi-weight world champion Adrien Broner over 10 rounds at welterweight to register what is the biggest win of his career, to be honest with you. I know last time out, he beat Morris Hooker back in 2022, his first fight since 2022. But the Browner win in terms of name value and world titles, that's the biggest win of Cobbs' career, to be honest, at 34 years old. And yeah, it possibly spells the end of a quite fascinating career of Adrien Broner. It's hard to see him coming back from this one. A quite controversial career, quite divisive career, and one of wasted talent, really. But we'll touch on that towards the end of the video. In terms of the fight itself, well, it was incredibly comfortable for Cobbs for the majority of the fight. You know, I know he was the betting favourite, so it's not even an upset. But God, especially those first 6 rounds, I don't think he'll ever have an easier 6 rounds than he had. In his career, really. He boxed well, credit to him. Good lateral movement, solid jab, put his shots together well. But Browner just showed all the signs of an absolutely shot fighter. He came forward, he was pushing forward, but he came forward high guard, didn't create any angles, just came straight forward and threw absolutely nothing. He wasn't kind of giving Cobbs anything to think about, no feints, no angles, and would not let his hands go. I know that's been a kind of, a running theme of Adrien Broner's frustrating career, that he never let his hands go. In fights where he should have, where he probably would have done better if he'd let his hands go and kind of expressed himself more. But yeah, as I mentioned, like, gave absolutely nothing for Cobbs to think about. It was the easiest 6 rounds, as I say, I think he'll ever have, to be honest with you. Every time Cobbs threw, he landed on Broner. Like, Adrien Broner was absolute target practice for Blair Cobbs for most of that fight. No head movement, no lateral movement, nothing. And yeah, Cobbs had it easy, and you could see as the fight went on how much he grew in confidence. He's a confident character as it is, as we all know. But he was just smiling. He looked loose. He looked good. And he knew he had it so easy. Towards the second half of the fight, Broner did start to let his hands go, but still nowhere near enough. He was getting outlanded 3-1 when he did let his hands go. It was enough to win him 3 rounds max in that, but yeah, nowhere near enough to kind of trouble Cobbs or even put a dent in him, to be honest with you. So yeah, went the 10 round distance. Of course, I neglected to mention earlier, round two, Blair Cobbs actually put Adrien Broner down quite heavily. He looked really hurt. A lovely loop and left hand right on the button. Put Adrien Broner down. Looked like he could have caught him a bit square on, but he did look hurt. And of course, we went on to find out that he actually knocked the teeth out of Adrien Broner, or a tooth, even should I say. So it done some damage, and it looked like he'd actually get him out of there and become the first man to stop Adrien Broner in round two. But Broner rolled it out, of course. Say what you want about him, he could take a shot. And he recovered well from that, and it went the distance, went the 10 round distance, and the judges' scorecards read 97, 91, and 96, 93 times two. To be honest with you, 97, 91 is even a bit close for me, to be honest. Never mind 96, 93. I thought Cobbs won it wider. Yeah, but the deserved winner, thank God. And as I mentioned, for Adrien Broner, it's likely the end of the road. 34 years old. Coming into this, he looked focused. He looked in good shape. So I was expecting a lot better than what we saw. And I think a lot of people were. But yeah, as I mentioned, just a lot of signs there of an absolutely finished fighter. 34, hasn't fought in 2 years, or hasn't fought since last year, I beg your pardon. I think it's something like two fights in the last 5 years, and it showed tonight. Although Blair Cobbs hasn't fought since 2022, and he looked much sharper than Adrien Broner, but there was talks of one more push at a world title for Broner, and that's not going to happen. You have to beat Blair Cobbs if you want any push at a world title, even at this stage of Broner's career. But it's so frustrating because at his best, or somewhere near his best, Broner comfortably beats the level of Blair Cobbs. You say what you want about levels above that, but Blair Cobbs on Broner's day, he'd be sweeping him aside comfortably, whether it be a stoppage or on point. So, yeah, that has to be the end of the road now for Adrien Broner. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, an incredibly frustrating career. Originally, as we all know the story, supposed to be the heir to the Floyd Mayweather throne. Won world titles in multiple weight classes, from 130 up to 147. But still, it's insane to say that about him, that for a multiple weight world champion, four division world champion, we'd be saying, what if Adrian Broner had the right mentality? He's had his problems, and he seems to kind of came through his mental issues, but he hasn't helped himself at times with his behavior and his mentality. He just couldn't carry the burden of expectation that compared him to Floyd Mayweather early on, and there's no shame in that. It's a big comparison, but yeah, the talent was there. Undoubtedly the talent was there. We're just going to be saying to ourselves now, what if the mentality was there? He could have done so much more. But unfortunately, that's not the way it goes, especially in such a tough sport like boxing. We can't deal in what ifs. It happened. He has his world titles. He has his money in the bank, which hopefully he looked after well, and he can retire now. He won't need to come back, hopefully. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what his finances look like, and if he will be forced to kind of make a return to the ring. But in terms of world titles or even near world titles, he's not getting anywhere near that. Not on that performance. Absolutely not. He'd be comfortably dealt with by people even below world level, to be honest with you. So, yeah, possibly the end of a really fascinating and frustrating career of Adrian Broner. On to the winner, of course, the well-deserved winner, Blair Cobbs. What's next for him? To mention the biggest win of his career, following on from the Morris Hooker win. Say what we want about Broner's performance, but as I mentioned, Cobbs boxed well. He deserved the win, so he's lined himself up now for some really big fights. It'll be interesting to see. He's 34 himself, Cobbs, so he's not young at all. So he does deserve a big fight now, and he needs a big fight. Not world level. He's not ready for world titles at all. He'd be comfortably dealt with. Jaron Ennis, of course, looking for an opponent for his July fight after the withdrawal of Cody Crowley, but Jaron Ennis would probably stop Blair Cobbs. And looking through the rest of the welterweight rankings, there is some interesting fights there. There's the likes of David Avanesian, the kind of bogeyman of the division, the avoided man, as his team like to say, and has been kind of proven in the past. There's Giovanni Santillan, there's Shakram Gyasov, there's interesting fights like that, top 15, top 10, that he could be matched with. The names, there's Michael McKinson, there's Conor Ben, to be honest with you. Yeah, Conor Ben, names like that I think would be interesting fights. Now, not to sound harsh on Blair Cobbs, I think they all beat Blair Cobbs. I think Cobbs is a good fighter, nothing more than that. And I think the names mentioned are kind of pushing higher than that towards world level. So I think they they would beat him, to be quite honest with you. But If I had to pick a name out of the names I mentioned, there's another scenario before I push on to move on. There's Lewis Crocker, I know he's fighting Conor Walker, but if he gets through that, go fight Blair Cobbs next, maybe in America. And I think Crocker beats Cobbs as well. I really do. But if I had to pick a name out of the names I mentioned, Conor Ben for me. Conor Ben, Blair Cobbs, I think the build-up would be fantastic. Confident character, Cobbs, very confident, divisive character, Conor Ben. The build-up would be amazing. It's a winnable fight for Conor Ben, absolutely. Be a fairly big favourite, I'd imagine, but Cobbs would more than fancy his chances. Ben's still very rough around the edges. He's no world beater himself. So yeah, I think that is kind of sell well in the UK or America. We know Conor Ben has his own kind of roadblocks to fight the UK at the minute. That's for another video. So maybe get him over to America again, like he was last time out to fight Blair Cobbs, and the winner of that would leave themselves in kind of pole position for a world title. If I had to pick a winner, as I mentioned, I think Conor Ben wins it on points. To be honest, I'll go points. I'll give Cobbs his credit. He's a tough operator, but he is easily hit. Broner proved that when he let his hands go, and I think Ben would win a fairly wide points decision. But yeah, there's interesting names there for Cobbs. To be honest, pushing forward in the top 10, top 15 of the welterweight rankings. So that's all we have time for on this one. Just as I mentioned, giving a quick reaction and run down to what we've seen in Hollywood, Florida, as Blair Cobbs has possibly ended the career of four-weight world champion Adrien Broner, as he's widely outpointed him over 10 rounds on the Don King promoted show at the Seminole Hotel. And yeah, well-deserved winner. Can't complain with the decision at all. Should have been a bit wider, to be honest with you, but the right man won. So yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Is it the end of the road for Adrian Broner? What did you make of the performance? If it's not, who would you like to see Broner face next? And who would you like to see Blair Cobbs, the winner, fight next? Who would you match him against? And how do you think he'd get on there? Do you think he'd win? Let us know what you think in the comments. As always, don't forget, drop us a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and don't forget, follow us on all social media. We've always great content coming out on a regular basis, a weekly basis. So, yeah, don't forget, drop us a subscribe, a like, a follow, and speak again soon. Take care.